On what started as an ordinary summer morning at the University of Texas, on August 1st, 1966, the lives of hundreds of students would be forever changed from what would become recognized as the first mass shooting in America. On this day, gunman Charles Whitman murdered 18 students and injured 31 more during a shooting spree that caught ordinary citizens, journalists, and politicians by surprise.
This is a KLRN News Bulletin. A sniper with a high-powered rifle has taken up a position on the observation deck of the tower on the campus of the University of Texas. He is firing at persons within his range. All Austin area residents are warned to stay away from the University of Texas campus area. The range of this man's rifle is not known. Please stay away from the University of Texas. This has been a KLRN News Bulletin.
A deranged engineering student at the University of Texas climbed to an Austin landmark at noon today.
The time is 5:30.
David Brinkley is on vacation. I'm Chet Huntley. For an hour and a half today, the normally placid university and capital city of Austin, Texas, was held in the grip of a terror which began in killing and ended in killing. A maddened former Marine, a 24-year-old student in the architectural school named Charles Whitman, first killed his wife and mother in their home. Then he fled to the top of the university tower, a 27-story building, and from there shot to death at least 13 other people and wounded at least 31. The carnage did not end until police ended Whitman's life with several bullets.
Since this August day in 1966, there have been 151 mass shootings at public places in America, which have killed 1,081 people, including 176 young children and teenagers. According to the Washington Post, the Whitman shooting ushered in the notion that any group of people, anywhere, even walking around a university campus on a summer day, could be killed at random by a stranger. The shooting at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School reignited the issue of school shootings in America and their long-standing history since 1966. Although shootings have continued to happen since this time, the journalistic standards by which the media covers these events have changed dramatically. Journalists during this time, like Walter Cronkite and Hunter Brinkley, were highly regarded by the American public. Cronkite was considered by many to be the most trusted man in America for his ability to inform Americans of the most important facts while prioritizing a standard of objectivity. In contrast, today's journalists seem to be guided by partisan narratives and ratings-driven entertainment coverage. The polarization of the Parkland shooting coverage would have seemed unimaginable during the coverage of the Whitman shooting in the 60s. What if the media was still rooted in the same principles that guided the likes of Cronkite and Brinkley? How would the standards of this golden age of TV journalism be applied to the coverage of what have now become politicized tragedies like the Parkland shooting? The overall style wouldn't have changed tremendously. Now and then, reporters rush to the scene to get first-hand coverage and images for viewers. The anchor comes on to report whatever details emerge as soon as possible. Yet, the competitive nature of the television news industry today incentivizes networks to speculate and pressures them to get information out as soon as possible as a means of beating their competitors. In contrast with the era of Cronkite, the journalistic frames which shaped news coverage and guided the actions of journalists have been forever changed since the Charles Whitman shooting. In today's media environment, there is a push to fill every single second of breaking news of school shooting coverage in some way which will engage the audience and keep the viewer pressed to the screen and specifically to a particular network. Each network vies for an audience by breaking news faster, getting better access, or by finding information about the shooter faster. Those of Cronkite's day would have placed more focus on getting the right information out, even if it took longer. The first news bulletin that emerged during the coverage of the Charles Whitman shooting showed only a few seconds of coverage and was meant as a public service announcement, which limited any speculation. How would journalism's golden age have handled social media? They probably would have viewed it positively as a way to get more information out to the public. but that at the same time would have been skeptical of the notion that anyone with a phone could be considered a journalist. Their coverage might have included videos and live streams taken from inside the schools, yet the motives would have been quite different, as opposed to motivations of today's journalists being to increase ratings and keep people interested. Those of TV journalism's golden age would have only shown footage if they thought it best served the public, and they would have delivered it in the context of a more thorough journalistic analysis. Standards of the Cronkite era would have never used journalism as a political tool by appealing to partisan audiences to boost ratings. It would be difficult for these journalists to toe the line of objectivity today, but they would have found a way to stay out of the divisiveness by sticking to the facts and letting the people decide the politics. While coverage of the Whitman shooting included eyewitness accounts, it never included interviews with grieving parents and family members out of respect for their privacy. The context has changed, and the focus placed on survivors and grieving families might not be a bad thing. After all, these movements have sparked activism in the gun control movement that has reached an all-time high. Yet, one must question whether new standards that view everything and everyone as fair game in media coverage are of the best intentions. Interviews like this one on CNN, played over and over throughout the news cycle, used as fodder for political arguments and opinions given by cable hosts one after another.
You can't waste one more day waiting for another shooter somewhere to erupt in deadly violence and end the lives of more innocent Americans, leaving families in almost unimaginable pain. Now, I want you to listen. This is to the mother of one of the students. Lori Adelheff's 14-year-old daughter, Alyssa, was killed in her classroom. She is a mother in anguish, demanding action.
The gunman, a crazy person, just walks right into the school, knocks down the window of my child's door, and starts shooting her, and killing her. This is not fair to our families, that our children go to school and have to get killed. I just spent the last 2 hours putting the burial arrangements for my daughter's funeral, who's 14. Do something. Action! We need it now! These kids need safety now!
So, Mr. President, Lori Aldeheff told you exactly what you can do. She was very loud and clear about it. Stop guns from getting into the wrong hands. Stop the slaughter of innocent Americans. Stop playing politics with our lives and the lives of people we love. What can you do, you ask, Mr. President? You can stand up to the powerful gun lobbies that spent over $30 million to support you for president. Remember how you campaigned that you were your own man, self-made, no one could buy or own you. You wouldn't be beholden to special interests. Remember when you said that? So prove it. Do that. Do something.
Also predictably, within hours, Democrats, the liberal media, they race as they always do to politicize a tragedy and try to blame, believe it or not, President Trump and Republicans. Let's take a look.
Step up, be a man, and talk about it, and stop thinking about the NRA and your next campaign donation. Just stop. Everyone knows what you're doing, and it's time. That does it for us this morning. Stephanie Rule picks up the coverage right now.
Thanks so much, Mika. Thanks, Joe. And to Marco Rubio, you don't have to step up and be a man. Step up and be a human.
Words of consolation, talk about mental health, are simply not enough. They must be followed by real action. The president has to lead or get out of the way.
The people have got to say enough is enough. We're not continuing with all these massacres. And we've got to have the representatives of the people in the halls of government respond to that.
This has happened with Republican administrations, under Democratic administrations, but what you see there, it's shameful, it's disgusting, but it's not surprising because it's so predictable. It happens every single time there is a shooting. Hollywood celebrities, they were also quick to post their hateful messages, of course, aimed at the president, Republicans on Twitter.
Tonight, I'm obsessed. Probably not alone here. I'm obsessed that 3 of the deadliest mass shootings in modern history have occurred in the past 5 months. I'm obsessed that since the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School, the horror that was supposed to change everything changed nothing. I'm obsessed that gun rights advocates tell us that banning bump stocks or limiting assault rifles or tightening background checks, it's all useless because they wouldn't have prevented all gun violence.
The issue has become politicized by all sides, and cable news hosts now rush to offer their opinions and insight into their political beliefs. These are exploited by opposing cable hosts, and the division is made even worse. Without being a touch political, Cronkite still managed to speak his mind about issues in a way that would help Americans better cope with the horrors like those experienced during the Whitman shooting. There's no telling whether Cronkite would have been able to maintain his journalistic style in today's divisive media environment. Maybe the standards of the golden age wouldn't have been able to withstand the competitive pressures of the industry and the polarized state of our political system today. Or maybe Cronkite's high journalistic standards, trust he earned, and the love he received from his viewers are no longer fully attainable. Yet, as journalism continues to adapt and change with the times, the legacy that Cronkite and TV journalism's golden age left behind should never be forgotten.
The horror of these sick among us must be found in the horror of our hyper-civilization, strange pandering to violence, a disrespect for life, fostered in part by governments which, in pursuit of the doctrine of self-defense, teach their youth to kill and to maim. A society in which the most popular newspaper cartoon scripts, television programs, and movies are those that can invent new means of perpetrating bodily harm. A people who somehow can remain silent while their own civilization seems to crumble under the force of the caveman's philosophy that might makes right. It seems likely that Charles Joseph Whitman's crime was society's crime. This is Walter Cronkite. Good night.